working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEANINFOCUS on tonight's headlines. A horrific mass shooting has rocked the Czech Republic. At Charles University in Prague, a 24-year-old student opened fire, killing 14 people, mostly young students, and injuring 25 others. The investigation is ongoing, and authorities are searching for a motive.
You have become crucial, as in the past years, the Philippines has found itself in the middle of geopolitical developments and tensions.
In a defiant address, President Marcos Jr. pledged to fiercely defend the country's territory against any encroachment, particularly in the West Philippine Sea. He stressed the importance of the armed forces in safeguarding national sovereignty. Is America prepared for the global crisis? With tensions rising around the world, questions swirl about America's readiness. Is the United States facing the most perilous moment in history, as some experts warn? And is America adequately equipped for potential conflicts on multiple fronts? Later, we'll turn to Dan Blumenthal, foreign policy expert and former White House advisor, and Elbridge Colby, former Deputy Secretary of Defense, for their insights. 5 years after 12 boys and their coach were trapped for 18 days in a Thai cave, part of the site is reopening to tourists. The dramatic rescue mission captured hearts worldwide, and now visitors can experience the site where resilience and bravery prevailed. We begin tonight overseas, where a tragic mass shooting has shaken the Czech Republic. At Charles University's Faculty of Arts in Prague, a 24-year-old student opened fire, claiming the lives of 14 people, mostly young individuals, and leaving 25 others injured. This devastating event casts a dark shadow over a country known for its relatively low gun violence rates, and it unfolded within the hallowed halls of one of Europe's oldest and most prestigious universities. Founded in 1347, Charles University holds a special place in the heart of Prague and the Czech Republic. Its historic campus, nestled near iconic landmarks like the Charles Bridge, has served as a center for learning for centuries. And now it has become the scene of an unspeakable tragedy.
V tuto chvíli my víme, že při této tragické události přišlo o život více než 15 lidí. Víme, že minimálně 24 lidí bylo.
Police Chief Martin Bondacek revealed a chilling timeline of events, stating that authorities had already begun searching for the suspect following the discovery of his father's body in a nearby village.
A v 15:20 jsme obdrželi od zasahujících policistů informaci o tom, že na ochozu objektu této školy se nachází bezvládné tělo střelce.
Police further revealed investigators believe the same individual was responsible for the earlier murders of a young man and his infant daughter near Prague on December 15th. That case had reached a standstill until crucial evidence unearthed in the father's death linked the suspect to both crimes. This tragedy resonated internationally, with leaders offering their condolences and solidarity.
We are aware of the terrible shooting that took place at Charles University in Prague, claiming the lives of at least 15 people and injuring dozens more. The President and the First Lady are praying for the families who lost loved ones and everyone else who has been affected by this senseless act of violence.
Similarly, French President Emmanuel Macron and other European leaders, including EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, expressed their support for the Czech people.
A nejpozději tento den bude státní vlajka na úředních a veřejných budovách vyvěšena na půl žerdi. A současně vyzýváme všechny občany České republiky, aby 23. prosince v den státního smutku ve 12 hodin uctili památky obětí minutou ticha.
Já bych nejprve rád vyjádřil velký smutek a zároveň taky bezmocný vztek nad naprosto zbytečnou ztrátou tolika mladých životů.
In a defiant address at the Armed Forces of the Philippines' 80th anniversary, President Marcos Jr. vowed not to cede an inch of Philippine territory to any foreign power, citing recent tensions in the West Philippine Sea. The president underscored the military's vital role in defending national sovereignty.
We shall continue to assert our rights in accordance with the Philippine Constitution and international law. You have become crucial, as in the past years, the Philippines has found itself in the middle of geopolitical developments and tensions that could potentially cause regional insecurity or endanger people's lives and livelihoods. But despite the many attempts at provocation, the Philippines, through the AFP, remains a force and a voice of reason, exemplifying responsible and dignified behavior in resolving issues in accordance with international law.
He specifically referenced the recent incident involving the AFP Chief of Staff's boat being harassed by the Chinese Coast Guard. The president emphasized the importance of military preparedness and strategic partnerships.
The recent incidents involving no less than our AFP Chief of Staff is worrisome. Yes, but it is a proud demonstration of Filipino courage against coercion and our firm resolve to protect, preserve, and uphold our territorial integrity. I know that our soldiers and our troops espouse the same values and principles, and they remain undeterred by actions that stir tension.
He just announced an 11.28 billion peso budget boost for the defense and maritime security in the 2024 national budget. He encouraged the AFP to enhance existing alliances and partnerships with foreign counterparts to maintain regional stability.
As the arm of government tasked with upholding national security, the AFP must continue to improve its readiness to effectively prevent and to respond to properly the current and emerging threats. To this end, this administration remains committed to supporting initiatives that will bolster our armed forces' external defense capabilities. I likewise enjoin the AFP to enhance existing alliances and partnerships with your foreign counterparts. Let us continue to explore so that we may forge new partnerships based on common goals, common values, and at the same time advancing the national interest.
In keeping with our legacy of valor in the face of countless challenges, both internal and external, the Armed Forces of the Philippines has consistently risen to the occasion. We have strengthened our territorial defense operations by heightening our presence in our key maritime domain and intensifying our maritime security operations as a response to the increasing challenges to our sovereignty and territorial integrity. With the statement of our Commander-in-Chief, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. saying, "The Philippines will not give up a single square inch of its territory," we will continue to uphold our territorial integrity and sovereignty in accordance with our institution and with international law. Therefore, with our oath of service being a solemn commitment, we guarantee that every soldier, airman, sailor, and marine will put our people first above all else.
France, the US, Canada, India, and the United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Japan are all planning maritime patrols with the Philippines. Tensions in the South China Sea are boiling over after Chinese ships blasted water cannons at Philippine vessels and a collision occurred near disputed reefs. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin urged the Philippines to make the rational choice and cooperate in managing the maritime situation.
First, I advise you look through the press notes we released. What you said is totally wrong. Yesterday, at the invitation of Philippine Foreign Minister Wang Yi held a phone call with him. And Wang Yi said that the difficulties faced by the two countries are caused by the Philippines. The root cause is that the Philippines has changed its policy and position, and is going back on its own words. The deliberate infringement and provocation of the Philippines undermine China's legitimate rights and interests. And the Philippines must act prudently. As I also want to stress that with regard to the maritime disputes with our neighbors, China's position is consistent and clear and has not changed. Our position of properly managing disputes through dialogue and consultation has not changed. Our attitude of working with the Philippines to implement previously reached understandings and agreements has not changed, and our policy of working with ASEAN countries, including the Philippines, to safeguard peace and stability in the South China Sea has not changed. Of course, our determination to safeguard our sovereignty and legitimate rights and interests will not change either. We hope the Philippines will make the rational choice following the effective way of getting along with neighbors and working with China to properly handle and manage the situation at sea.
Now, Philippines is pushing back. The Philippines insists it's defending its legitimate territory and has summoned the Chinese ambassador this month. Philippine President Marcos declared they won't surrender a single square inch.
We shall continue to assert our rights in accordance with the Philippine Constitution and international law.
Now, flashback to recent incidents. Videos released by the Philippine Coast Guard show Chinese ships spraying water cannons on Philippine boats near Scarborough Shoal and Second Thomas Shoal. Filipino officials say a collision also occurred at Second Thomas Shoal, where a small Philippine garrison is based. President Marcos met Chinese leader Xi Jinping recently, but no breakthrough on the territorial disputes was achieved. Tonight, we delve into a chilling conversation about America's preparedness in the face of global turmoil. Are they truly facing the most dangerous moment, as some experts claim? And are they adequately armed for the potential conflicts brewing on multiple fronts? Here are Dan Blumenthal, foreign policy expert and former White House advisor, and Elbridge Colby, the former Deputy Secretary of Defense.
About the fate of Taiwan being resolved in Ukraine. Who cares more in the international system other than Taiwan about Taiwan the most? China. If that were true, China would directly intervene in the conflict because it cares more about Taiwan than anybody else. So if the Ukraine conflict were determinative of Taiwan, you would see direct Chinese intervention. Instead, you see China acting exactly as I would expect, which is to stalemate and distract and corrode our stockpiles and our sense of political will. And now you are starting to get, there was a big article in the New York Times in early November, Asian allies are starting to worry that the United States is being distracted. And the RAND Corporation over the summer said we are on track to lose a war over Taiwan. That's the reality. We need conservatives and especially hawks to get real about that.
But we are in the most dangerous moment. We're in an incredibly dangerous moment, and we have failed to resource our strategy.
But we are where we are now.
Yeah, we failed to resource our strategy. We're in a world of warfare, and we're not on a war footing. We're not on a footing that is producing the kind of capabilities that the Ukrainians need to get out of a stalemate. We were piecemeal about it. The strategy, if it had been faster and more decisive, we wouldn't be in this stalemate. We're in a situation where Iranians are attacking U.S. forces, where the Iranians can escalate at any moment. This is the world we live in. It's just impractical to think that we're going to be pulling out of those places because when we're under attack by the Iranians.
Well, if we get punched in the face in a decisive theater,
well, if we get punched in the face again, I suppose.
Yeah, but a whole different by Mike Tyson.
Well, the Russians are pretty close to Mike Tyson. With a fierce military, who's getting decimated by an ally willing to fight. But we are not serious, and we have to get on a war footing. We have to resource our defense needs. We need to be present in the three major theaters that many people have advocated for many, many years and saw this train wreck coming, including the National Defense Independent Panel a few years ago saying we are not resourcing our strategy. We could face exactly this moment. The Russians attacking in Europe, the Iranians attacking in the Middle East, and the Chinese rattling their saber and using their force in East Asia. We have got to get on a war footing. We have got to get our defense production up to the place where we can actually get the things to Taiwan that we need to get.
On a picture-perfect island in Indonesia, a humanitarian crisis unfolds. Thousands of Rohingya refugees fleeing persecution in Myanmar have arrived by rickety boats in recent months, seeking safe haven. Their arrival marks the largest influx since 2015, and tensions are rising. More than 1,000 Rohingya refugees now call this island home, their temporary shelter, a stark contrast to the scenic backdrop. The journey across the treacherous Bay of Bengal is perilous, but desperation drives them. In Bangladesh, where nearly 1 million Rohingya live in exile, conditions are dire. Here, they hope for a better life.
I will pray for them, for my family, and for all the people who are in the sea. I think our future will be better in Indonesia if the government of Indonesia and the people of Indonesia allow us to stay here. We will stay. If they do not allow us to stay here, we don't know where to go. I don't know, but UNHCR and UN knows about it because it's not in my hand. I think it's the hands of UN and UNHCR.
Indonesia, not a signatory to the UN Refugee Convention, feels it cannot shoulder the responsibility alone. This month, President Joko Widodo declared that traffickers were to blame for the refugee crisis and that while providing temporary relief, his administration will give priority on the interests of the local community.
Saya memperoleh laporan mengenai pengungsi Rohingya yang semakin banyak yang masuk ke wilayah Indonesia, terutama Provinsi Aceh. Terdapat dugaan kuat ada keterlibatan jaringan tindak pidana perdagangan orang dalam arus pengungsian ini. Pemerintah Indonesia akan menindak tegas pelaku TPPO dan bantuan kemanusiaan sementara kepada pengungsi akan diberikan dengan mengutamakan kepentingan masyarakat.
As the sun sets over the island, the future of the Rohingya refugees remains uncertain. Will their temporary refuge become a permanent home, or will they be forced to set sail once more, adrift in a sea of uncertainty? Following opposition to prior draft proposals, Washington signaled support for the much-delayed resolution regarding the Israel-Hamas war, and the UN Security Council was set to vote on it today.
I just want to share with you that we have worked hard and diligently over the course of the past week with the Emiratis, with others, with Egypt, to come up with a resolution that we can support. And we do have that resolution now. We're ready to vote on it. I won't share how I will vote, but it will be a resolution if the resolution is put forward as is that we can support.
The most recent copy, which was obtained by AFP after several days of delays, doesn't demand an immediate end to hostilities. Instead, it calls for urgent steps to immediately allow safe and unhindered humanitarian access, as well as for creating the conditions for a sustainable cessation of hostilities.
The draft resolution is not watered down. The draft resolution is a very strong resolution that is fully supported by the Arab group, that provides them what they feel is needed to get humanitarian assistance on the ground. It's a resolution that will bring humanitarian assistance to those in need. It will support the priority that Egypt has in ensuring that we put a mechanism on the ground that will support humanitarian assistance, and we're ready to vote for it.
The U.S. and Israel, Israel's ally, have resisted the phrase ceasefire, and Washington has twice used its veto power to block resolutions that had the support of most other members. There will not be a truce in Gaza until Hamas is eliminated. That is according to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's statement on Wednesday. The UN's hunger monitoring system issued a warning that every single person in war-torn Gaza is expected to face high levels of acute food insecurity in the next 6 weeks, coinciding with the diplomatic spat.
It's too late. We're behind. There is not enough food. Every single person I speak to, everywhere I go in Gaza, is hungry. The time is now. We are dealing with starving people now, adults, children, and it's unbearable. Everywhere we go, people are asking us for food. Even in the hospitals, as I said, I walk around in the emergency department. Somebody with an open bleeding wound, open fracture. They ask.
The UN Health Agency said that injured patients who require surgery but are unable to be relocated are waiting to die since there are no operational hospitals in the northern part of Gaza.
Pretty unbearable to see people who are already victims of conflict, who are in what should be a safe place, where they should be able to access care, where they're sitting, waiting to die unless something dramatically changes that will allow them to survive. And that requires safe movement, requires a huge uplift of fuel, requires medicines, medical supplies, human resources. They're starving. They're dying of thirst. Patients were crying out in pain, but they were also crying out for us to give them water. It's pretty unbearable to see somebody with, cast on multiple limbs, external fixators on multiple limbs, who are just asking for a drink of water. Almost no IV fluids available. We went through the courtyard where we stepped over a hole from shelling that had happened just a couple of days before, past a row of bodies that had been wrapped in white plastic sheeting, what would be considered unnecessary amputations in the rest of the world, and where there's capability to save limbs, where there's orthoplastic, there's vascular surgical capability. That's not there. There's no surgery happening right now in northern Gaza. And so actually many of the patients that I saw yesterday will need amputation if and when they're able to access surgical care.
Meanwhile, in a related story, tensions are boiling in the Red Sea as a multinational coalition led by the U.S. steps up to protect vital shipping lanes from attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels. More than 20 countries have now joined forces, aiming to safeguard the flow of global trade through this crucial artery. The Houthis, backed by Iran, have launched repeated attacks on vessels traversing the Red Sea, claiming it's in retaliation for Israeli actions in Gaza. These attacks not only endanger lives but also threaten the economic well-being of nations around the world. General Pat Ryder emphasized the crucial role of the coalition, comparing it to a highway patrol safeguarding the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Their mandate to respond to threats and assist commercial vessels navigating this vital waterway.
As far as Operation Prosperity Guardian, we've had over 20 nations now sign on to participate. The nations that have agreed to publicly discuss their participation, we've put those out there. Since the announcement on Tuesday, Australia and Greece have also highlighted their participation in this operation. But again, we'll allow other countries and defer to them to talk about their participation. The key point here is that this, as I mentioned at the top, this is a international problem and it requires an international response. And so we'll continue to work with this coalition of the willing, and all countries will be able to contribute what they feel that they can. In some cases, that will include vessels. In other cases, it could include staff or other types of support. And so, again, we'll continue to work together to safeguard the shipping lanes through the Red Sea.
Marco Fergione, Director General of the Institute of Export and International Trade, said the U.S.-led international naval operation to provide support to ships traversing the Red Sea isn't sustainable in the long term. He believes key stakeholders in the region need to come to an agreement to combat piracy and terrorism if ships are able to sail from Bab al-Mandab Strait to the Suez Canal without incident.
Today, but militarizing that area is not, I think, sustainable in the longer term and doesn't come without significant risk. As I've said, it's a very constrained area. If you're going to send ships through with accompanying naval forces, there are issues of potential risk of mistakes happening, or in fact of the insurance companies not being satisfied and still not insuring the ships. It is, they have high-tech equipment. They have been well funded and supported by Iran. Iran has made very clear that they are backing the Houthi rebels and they will not stand any US-led intervention in the region. So this is not going to be something that is overcome easily or simply. There are, I think, two least bad results from this. The first is if they do nothing, the Houthi rebels will feel emboldened and the attacks will continue. If they act, there is a very real potential for this to escalate. So I think the reality, the only way out of this is through negotiation, conversation, and a comprehensive group of key actors in the region coming together to prevent these attacks from taking place.
And fix it we must because the implications are far-reaching. Think increased shipping costs, longer delays, and ultimately higher prices for everything from your morning coffee to the clothes on your back.
With regards to the impact on global supply chains, the impact on inflation, I think things are going to get worse. With regards to what's happening with the delays in the Red Sea, unfortunately, I think that those two seem to be escalating. If you look at the number of attacks that the Houthi rebels have been launching, both with the drone attacks, the ballistic missile attacks, and indeed the pirate-style attacks, those have been increasing over recent days. The impact of the lack of the oil getting through or the liquefied natural gas getting through will have a massive impact, particularly in Europe at this time of year where we're using it for heating, domestic heating bills. So we're going to see inflation increasing, seeing the cost of goods on the shelves increasing. We're going to see the time lag of product getting onto the shelves decreasing, which means that there'll be potential scarcity, which drives up prices again.
The Red Sea, a vital artery for global trade, is under siege, according to maritime security expert Corey Ranslam, CEO of Dryad Global. Yemeni Houthi rebels, emboldened by Iranian support, are deploying advanced tactics and targeting innocent vessels.
When the Galaxy Leader was hijacked, that boarding was done by a helicopter. We haven't seen the Houthis use those tactics in the past. We're seeing drone and missile strikes, and we have not seen those tactics in the past either to the level that we're seeing those today. So this is completely different from an attack perspective of what we're seeing against commercial shipping today within this specific region.
He raised the concerns of expanding Houthi targeting with attacks no longer solely focused on perceived Israeli connections.
Start to increase. At first, the Houthis said that they would attack vessels that had any type of Israeli connection. So if that was part ownership or management or operation, that they would attack vessels with those type of Israeli connections. We've seen that also evolve to include any vessel that would be transiting cargo in or out of any Israeli ports. And then over the last few days, we've seen that expand to almost any vessel. The Houthis are saying that these vessels that they're attacking have some sort of Israeli connection, but there's a couple that we've seen that we have not been able to find an Israeli connection, whether it's ownership, management, flag, or port operation.
He also highlighted the economic consequences with major companies shunning the Red Sea and potentially impacting global energy prices.
perspective, we're seeing a number of major shipping companies that are pausing or suspending transit operations in and out of the Red Sea, some electing to go around the Cape, around Africa. We've also seen now two major shipping companies that are declining to take on any Israeli cargo whatsoever. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out from a financial perspective.
He's now warning of the significant delays and cost increases for ships opting for the longer route around Africa due to the Red Sea disruptions.
Into Europe, because if the vessels start looking at a transit around Africa, that could add at least 30 days to the transit, plus the cost to be able to do that transit. So again, as this conflict wears on, you could see a fairly substantial increase in energy prices, especially as you're looking into the European region because of the transit route that, again, adds another 30 days to the transit of the petroleum products.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end this day or end this week on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angela. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.